This video is on making a hydraulic bender using a hydraulic jack gear puller from Harbor Freight. The Harbor Freight number is 95326. You can see it on the box. And they run, I think, $79 full price. But a lot of times they're on sale for about $49. So this is the kit inside the box. Comes in this nice little plastic case, which doesn't do you much good after you put this thing together. But lots of spare parts in there. It's set up as a gear puller, so you've got all the arms and stuff for that too. All right, so inside the box, there's the hydraulic cylinder itself. There's a big nut with 3 little legs on it and the handle. That's all you need to use out of the kit. The rest of it's just spare parts. So these are the parts you'll need out of the kit. You can see on the cylinder that it has a pointed end on it. That unscrews, so you just take this off because we're not going to use it anymore. And that's where the block will go on the end when you put it together. So these are the parts you have to make the rest of the bender. These are the arms and the other miscellaneous pieces that put it together and allow it to bend. The 2 arms on the left, you can cut those out of plate. You can forge them out of bar stock. Except for a blacksmith shop, we just forge them. The other pieces are 1/2 by 2, and that little piece of pipe there, it's what I have is 2 3/4. It's about 1 13/16 on the inside. It needs to be fairly close to that on the inside, so it's not real sloppy on the cylinder. And it's 2 inches long, and you can make that by wrapping a piece of 1/2 by 2 around something, or machine it out of a piece of solid or whatever. The other little block is going to get mounted on the end of the cylinder, and that's just a piece of 1.5" square that's basically counterbored on both sides for different sizes. That cap screw is going to replace that pointed end that we took out of the end of the cylinder. That's a 10 by 1.5 metric bolt that's 2 centimeters long. So it has a metric thread on the end. That's the easiest way to do it. You could also rethread it to use like a 7/16 bolt if you wanted to go with a standard one. Okay, here's all the pieces welded together. The arms and the other pieces welded to the pipe. You want to make sure that when you weld it up, that the center of the pipe here is roughly center with your arms back here, so that when you push on the pressure on this thing, that you're hitting center on your pieces. Okay. The next step is to put the cylinder on. So, cylinder through the pipe, and then that big nut that we had, put that back on. And then the block that we made earlier, one side, you want this fairly snug on the end of the cylinder. The other side should fit the countersink, or the head of the bolt. So you've got this metric bolt we're going to put in here. You want this to be fairly snug. Sometimes to really torque on this thing, it wants to spin. So if you run it out to the end of its stroke, it'll basically lock up the cylinder, so the cylinder won't, or the ram won't turn inside the cylinder. Okay. So you can put some pressure on this to tighten it down without this part of it spinning. All right. All right, now to use this is just a scrap piece we had laying out off a handrail. So we can use the course adjustment here to take up the slop, get it halfway close. Tighten down your stop here, and then you can just pump the jack and bend that as much as you want. You have to make sure that it's laying flat though. If it's turned sideways, it will do that. So you can feel the pressure you put on there, so you can kind of get a feel for how much you're bending things. You can also use it to straighten stuff out. We'll have to, you know, pull this back this way a little bit to get some room. A little more. Tighten down your stop. And you can use this to take the bend back out if you got too much bend in a spot, or you have some kinks you need to straighten out, whatever. All right. A couple other things about this. This one's made out of mild steel. Everything's 1/2 inch thick. If you were to use something like 4140 or 5160, which is tool steel, if we use something like 4140 or 5160, then you can make these parts a little lighter, because they can have a lot more toughness to them. You don't want to harden them, because then they would have a tendency to break on you. But even in the annealed state, they're a lot tougher. So there's that. This is obviously just a Harbor Freight cylinder, you know, Chinese made with the quality corresponding. So if you want a cylinder system that's a much better system, well, that'd be correspondingly more expensive. Power Team makes one that's very similar, but it's American made. It runs $200 to $400, I think, and they call it a Hydra Grip-O-Matic. And the 6-ton model is a PH63C, and the 8-ton model is a PH83C. This is actually a 5-ton gear puller from Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight does make a 12-ton gear puller, which is a little bit larger, would work the same way though. So, I think that's it.